Baseball and softball players, we are officially in the off season. So this is a great time to rest and recover, but it's also a great time to work on things you struggled with in the fall season. And a chance to get monumentally better at what you're already awesome at, so that you come out in the spring ready to go. So we're gonna help you do that today by talking about body on head mobility. Body on head mobility is mission critical in softball and baseball. It's important in pitchers because it helps improve power and it helps improve accuracy when you're trying to throw to your spot. It's important in hitting because it has a huge impact on your ability to track the ball and to recruit a lot of power in your swing. And it's really important in the outfield as you're trying to drop and run and be able to track the ball and catch the ball. So, first of all, what is it? Body on head mobility is the ability of my body to move around a fixed head. So I'm looking at something, can my body go in the opposite direction and I can keep my eyes focused on my target? We lose this a lot in young athletes because we don't move very well. So I spend my entire day at school. I spend my free time on my iPad or my phone or an electronic, and I'm spending all this time forward and forward and forward. So when I spend time doing all these things in front of me, my head gets pulled forward, my upper trap gets tight, my chest gets tight, my upper back gets overstretched, and I lose mobility. And when I lose mobility, that means my head and my trunk can't go in two different directions. This is also affected by the way that we train. If you spend a great deal of time doing strength training on the front half of your body, you can lose body on head mobility. So a lot of bench press, a lot of push-ups, a lot of mountain climbers, a lot of burpees, things that emphasize the front half of my body will pull me forward, and they'll pull my head forward in space, and they're gonna limit my ability to move around my head. Your ability to move around your head is really, really important in athletics because my eyes control what's going to happen. I need to have good reaction time. How many times in baseball and softball do you hear, see the ball, see the ball, see the ball? I can't see the ball if I can't move my head on my body, and my eyes are gonna drive all function, and everything below my eyes are going to adapt to where my eyes are in space. So body on head mobility is really, really important. So we're gonna break it down into the 4 areas that we talked about to show you what I mean. So baseball pitching. If I'm going to pitch and I'm gonna load, I need to be able to keep my eyes on my catcher, right? I'm going towards a specific target. So if I'm a right-handed pitcher, as I load, whether you're somebody who shifts to the side or rotates to the side when you load, that arm's gonna come back when you split, right? And the whole point of pitching is to keep that arm back as long as I can while I drive, and then I get more snap. My arm's ability to come back is going to be dependent on my body's ability to rotate around my head. It's not just a product of arm strength and mobility. So as I get into that position, my head needs to be on the catcher and my body has to rotate around that head. If you are tight and that can't happen, that's going to change your arm slot because this is the driver. So depending on how much restriction you have, what happens is we see boys drop their elbow and become more of a sidearm. We don't reach as far as we can around the corner, so we have less miles per hour on the radar gun or looking at how hard we're gonna throw. If I can't rotate around the corner and be here and here, that also limits how much oblique or belly support we have, so that's gonna decrease the amount of power. And my head not being able to be in a good position with respect to my arm will also affect my ability to aim because again, my arm slot will be changed. All of these things because my head can't move separately of my trunk. This is true in softball pitching as well. As I come out of load and up into K, my glove hand and my head have to be on the target. If my glove hand and my head, if I don't have enough mobility to be here and here, what happens is we see girls bail with their glove so that it gives their head more room. Or we see girls come forward and they're pitching from out here, which is a great way to tear the labrum in your shoulder, tear up your elbow, or tear the labrum in your hip. The other thing we see with this arm slot change is a lot of pars fractures or low back injuries in our pitcher, because the minute I have to bail so that I can get my head where it needs to be, now you're changing what muscle is controlling the pitch. So we see these kids end up being more biceps pitchers, which is harder on your body and more fatiguing than being able to be a true latissimus pitcher, meaning I'm pulling with this muscle here, just based on where my head is lined up with my body and how much freedom I have in that direction. So again, that has a big impact on power because of what body part I'm using, how much endurance I have, because if I have to use my bicep, you're not going to have as much endurance as if you can use hips and lat. And it truly changes my ability to locate the ball, because now my arm angle is away from my body and I can't truly use my pelvis to drive the location of that pitch. So huge things in form, all created by body on head. But it's not just our pitchers, guys, it's hitting. So this affects every softball, baseball player there is. When I line up to hit, and I'm going to be here as I load, again, my body's going to the right, my head has to stay on the pitcher. So this right here, that's a pretty good stretch. What happens is, our brains are lazy, okay? We are predetermined to take the path of least resistance. So if I load into really good hitting form and I'm trying to keep my head on that pitcher and I sense tightness here or I sense a restriction here, your brain says, I don't like that. I'm gonna have to work too hard to fight through that restriction. So what will happen is I change my hand height, I change my trunk rotation, I change where I load. So you're telling kids, don't drop your hands, keep your elbow up, stay loaded. Physically, they cannot, because their brains are telling them, I don't like this sensation of restriction, I'm gonna make you change. So they may be able to change it in the short term if I'm at a lesson or I'm at batting practice and I can overcome that restriction because I'm thinking about it. But the minute they get in the box and I get here and I feel this restriction at my neck, they're gonna change as they start their swing, because your brain is preloaded to get rid of that restriction feeling and to not fight through it. So body on head mobility will make a big difference with where my hands are when I'm trying to hit. And because of that change, we want kids to be able to use their lower bodies. If I can't get loaded correctly, I can't use my butt and my obliques, simply because my head cannot move on my body. So last position, we talked about outfielders, right? So we expect them to be able to drop step, run, turn, and catch. Well, guess what? When I'm turning to catch, my feet and my body are still relatively going this direction while you're asking my head to come back to the left and track the ball. I have to have enough body on head mobility to be able to counter rotate or let that happen. It's the same thing with all three previously discussed positions. If your brain senses restriction, you're not going to go there. You'll take less of a reach. You'll take less of a step. You're going to be a glove short and you'll say, come on, move your feet. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that I don't have enough mobility here to be able to make the catch. And I can improve my ability to make that catch, see the pitcher, aim my pitch, have power in my pitch with stretching and mobility exercises, not by going out and trying to take 50, 100, 200 more cuts off the tee, because as long as I have that restriction, your brain is not going to naturally let that go. So how do I fix it? Posture is huge, and I know we get sick of hearing a physical therapist talk to me about posture, but if I am loaded way forward here, try sticking your head way forward into space and rotate your trunk around that. Don't have any mobility. If I pull my head back into line with the rest of me, now I have a lot more rotation. So head position and upper back position are really, really important for this. Upper trap gets really tight with stuff that we do in sitting or in front of us. So you have to mobilize this. You cannot expect to sit all day at a computer and do online school and then immediately go out to the field and start throwing or start pitching or start hitting. You have to mobilize this so you have good body on head mobility. So to do that, it's as easy as taking a yoga strap or a belt or a sheet or a towel. If I take this up over the top of my upper trap and I pull my head back into good posture, I am going to tip my head to the left and then I'm going to rotate it to the left. Come back up, tip my head to the left, rotate it to the left. Okay? I got to be able to go to the other direction as well, right? So I'm going to tip my head to the left, rotate to the left, come back up, tip my head to the left, rotate to the left, come back up to help improve that body on head mobility. The other thing I can do is work the rotational component of it. So I'm going to take my head and I'm going to fix my eyes on a target in front of me. So a picture on a wall, you can put up a piece of tape. I keep my head on the target and I'm going to rotate and step and reach with my entire body while I look at that fixed target. So what that does is help stretch the little joints in your neck from the bottom up to improve my rotation of my head from the bottom up when I'm pitching, hitting, fielding. So I need to make sure I do it in both directions. I also need to make sure that there's no pain because we don't want it to be a stretch. We don't want it to be annoying. If it's annoying or you just really feel stuck and you're having a really hard time with it, again, this is something you can go see physical therapy for because truly the joints in your neck and upper back can get so locked up from repetitive positioning of pitching, hitting, fielding that your body can get stuck and it simply can't move, and you need someone to assess, is this more than just a soft tissue issue? Do we truly have a joint restriction? And yes, you can have that at a very young age. I've had 10-year-olds with neck restrictions because they play a ton of baseball or they play a ton of softball or I love to hit. Your body adapts to whatever position you use the most, and the minute you fatigue at any activity, your body tightens up to try to help you stabilize with that activity. So it's really, really easy to end up with a neck or upper quadrant restriction in softball or baseball because of the repetitive nature of that sport. If you want a quick screen for how is your body on head mobility, what does it really look like when you're trying to throw and I'm trying to keep my head here and rotate my body around, you can use a wall and load up and see how tight and restricted it is. Again, do not cause pain. So pinch is bad, sharp is bad, stretch is okay, but it'll give you kind of a snapshot of what you need to work on. So what I'm going to have you do is you want to go up to a wall and you, whatever hand you are, put your hand up. So I'm gonna load into that T position for throwing. So I'm a right-handed athlete that's either gonna pitch or I'm batting right. If you're a slapper or somebody that bats from the other side, use your opposite arm to test just the body on head mobility part. If you throw from the opposite side, you can check shoulder and upper trunk mobility compared to neck. You can test both sides. So I'm on a wall, hand up, hand in the T position, and I rotate my head to the left. So can I get my head all the way on the wall, and can I get it squared up with my arm back? Now from this position, can I reach my arm off the wall? Can I reach my arm off the wall without having my head smash into the wall? Can you keep your head at that 90-degree angle to your body and reach my hand off the wall? If you can't get your body on a wall, that's pretty huge. You're missing some pretty big body on head mobility. If it pinches or bothers you more in your shoulder, we probably have some upper quadrant restrictions that are causing it. If you feel really stuck and immobile in your head, it can be more neck, cervical stabilizers, facet type things. But that's really exciting. It's not exciting because we don't want you to have things wrong with you, but it is exciting meaning there are some physical limitations that are affecting the way you play. It is not just a matter of, I can go out there and pitch 75 more balls and be better. You have to address these little things that feed into some of the flaws we see in pitching and improving power, and you can make huge gains in the off season and come back in the spring better than ever.